Hey guys, Tim here from Boogie Snail Mastering. Hope you're having a very great day. In this video, I'm sharing my best metering tools with you I use for mastering music. Before we start, please remember, if you have a mix that you need mastered, request a quote at BSMastering.com and receive 50% of your first order. I would also very much appreciate, guys, if you subscribe and hit the notification bell to support my channel. And now, let's get to the video. There are more metering tools available to a mastering engineer than simple metering tools that we use during recording, because the mastering process requires a lot more visual input to tell you things that you need to know. Paying attention to the meters is extremely important in mastering, much more so than mixing, especially when you are trying to achieve hot levels. Typically, a mastering engineer will look at the following: ppm meter or peak program meter, spectrum analyzer or real-time analyzer, phase correlation meter, phase oscilloscope, and dynamic range meter. A peak meter is what's found on virtually every piece of digital equipment and plug-in, since it has extremely fast response. This has become a necessity for digital recording because any signal beyond 0 dB causes a very nasty distortion. All peak meters have a red over indicator that lets you know you've exceeded the zone of audibly clean level. VU meters found in analog audio gear are what's known as RMS meters. RMS stands for the root mean square measurement of the voltage of the electronic signal, which roughly means its average. Even when your peak meter is tackling 0 dB, the RMS meter will settle at a point much lower, since it's measuring the signal differently than the peak meter. We don't use RMS meters much these days, but it's still what many engineers are using. The reason it quickly became outdated was because it's not adjusted for human hearing. It wouldn't place weighting on certain frequencies which we can't hear as well. LUFS meters. Everyone wants a clean, loud and polished master, and to get that result you need a reliable way to measure that. This is where LUFS comes in. The measurement for LUFS is loudness units, and the full scale refers to the comparison to 0 dB being the loudest point along that spectrum before clipping. In basic terms, it measures your track's average loudness over time adjusted for human hearing differences. This is because humans don't hear frequencies evenly across the spectrum. Some we hear louder than the others, and some a lot quieter than the others, like bass, for example. The phase scope gets its name from the fact that in early days of recording, a phase between the left and right channel was checked by an old-fashioned oscilloscope, which is nicknamed a scope. Phase is extremely important in a stereo signal, because if left and right channels are not in phase, not only will the program sound odd, but instruments panned to the center like lead vocals and solos will disappear if the stereo signals should ever be combined into mono. The phase correlation meter is that simple. Any signal that's drawn towards the right-hand +1 side of the meter is in phase, which is good. Any signal that's drawn towards left-hand -1 side of the meter is out of phase, not good. In general, any meter readings above 0 and in the right-hand positive side of the scale have acceptable mono compatibility. A brief readout towards left-hand negative side of the scale isn't necessarily a problem, but if the meter consistently sits in the negative side, it could represent a mono compatibility issue. Keep in mind that the wider your stereo mix is, either by panning or wide stereo reverbs, the phase correlation meter will tend to indicate more towards the left side, but as long as the signal stays mostly on the right, your compatibility should be good to go. A spectrum analyzer is an excellent tool for determining the frequency balance at your program by looking at it in 1/6 octave portions. It's especially effective for singling out particular frequencies that are too hot and for dialing in the low end. Contrary to what you might think when you look at the analyzer, the object is not to aim for a total flat response. The deep bass below 40 Hz and ultra highs above 10K are almost always rolled off compared to the other frequencies. It's very useful to look at other mastered sounds that you think sound really good and get a feel for what they look like on the analyzer. Keep in mind that your mastering job will probably not look like your chosen sample, since each song is unique, but if it is the same genre, it might be close by the time you finish working your mastering magic. A dynamic range meter is very similar to a peak meter, but adds the additional function of measuring the dynamic range of a signal. While you don't need all of these meters to do a proper mastering job, they all do serve a purpose and can be helpful in identifying problem areas in your master tracks.